Vaush is finished, everybody. His folder got leaked, and he is not beating the degenerate allegations. I genuinely never thought another content creator would be able to beat out Pyrocynical for the most fucked up fetish, but you know what, give it up for Vaush, I guess. And ladies and gentlemen, I've been waiting for this moment. As a member of DGG, I am taking a victory lap. I was really hoping something like this would happen with Hassan, but lucky for him, he's a different kind of sex-deranged lunatic. Hassan may go to brothels and pay to have sex with ambiguously aged women, but there's nothing ambiguous about Vaush and his interest in horses. There has been huge drama lately over this situation, and I'm gonna talk about all of it, or most of it at least. I'll probably make a few videos on this situation, but for this video, I want to talk about the massive dumpster fire that predates all this drama, because Ian Kaczynski has plenty of unsavory history under the name Vaush. I should also point out, once again, yes, I am a member of DGG, which is Destiny's community, and Destiny and Vaush do not like each other, so you may assume that I'm being biased or too harsh on Vaush in this video, and I can't deny some bias may play a factor, but I will be giving Vaush a fair trial. But if you think that's not the case, all of this information is available online, and you can do your own research. I always promote that. Anyways, what happened with Vaush and how did this all start? Well, Vaush is a political left-leaning commentary YouTuber and streamer. However, lately Vaush has been branching out, doing live streams where he autistically rambles about men's fashion and talks about, I don't know, like watches and blazers and stuff. And I will say, Vaush cleans up quite well and he has a good sense for fashion, so I can't judge him there. From what I hear, he is well known at his local haberdashery. But during this live stream, he would accidentally open a file titled "To Be Sorted," and within this folder were more folders with X-rated NSFW content in them, which is already bad enough to open that on stream, but below the folders were images, and you could see the thumbnails of these pictures. People were able to backtrace some of these images and find the full-res original artwork. This artwork was, of course, also NSFW content, but it was not just regular vanilla stuff. To keep things as TOS as possible, I'll say that there were horse appendages, as well as what appears to be young anime girls in NSFW situations. Now, I should say, out of all of these drawings, we didn't see any real CP or real horses from what we could tell, at least. But the issue, of course, is the fact that Vaush likes this stuff at all. It's extremely disturbing from the images that I've seen. Like, some of these girls do appear to be, like, clearly young, especially when you consider that some of these girls are with horses. It's just really, really fucked up and degenerate. Once again, Pyro's fat, farting foxes seem to be pretty tame right about now.
I had absolutely no idea.
However, Vaush's degeneracy is no secret to anyone familiar with him, but we'll get into that in a bit. Unfortunately for Vaush, once something's on the internet, it's there forever. And this information would land on the desk of Ethan Klein, who would decide to talk about it on the H3 podcast. In this episode, the H3 crew would go over the folder leak incident. They overall found the images to be disturbing and decided to dig deeper. They then began to comb through many unsavory takes Vaush has given over the years, relating both to horses and to CP. They would overall take very disapproving positions of what they saw and heard. As I said earlier, most people who were already familiar with Vaush knew about this kind of stuff, and especially his love for equestrian phallus. But the thing is that this is many people's first experience of Vaush, and it's not a good look by any means. This guy starts going viral over having NSFW content of young girls and horses on his PC, and then H3 turns up a paper trail of questionable takes about CP and a massive backlog of weird horse-related comments, which we will get into, don't worry, I'm just setting the stage. And so many people are labeling Vaush as a predator, and you can't really deny that with a fresh pair of eyes, it doesn't look good. I want to go more in depth and flesh out all of these topics, but I want to start off with something that's kind of been brushed over a bit. I have heard people, including Ethan, bring up a set of Discord logs featuring Vaush and a girl named Poppy, in which Vaush allegedly sexually harassed her. However, as of this recording, I haven't seen anyone dive super deep into these logs. Luckily for you, I live streamed myself going through them a few nights ago, and what me and my chat found was quite shocking to say the least. Poppy was a member of the DGG Discord server, which is Destiny's Discord. You see, before Vaush was a content creator, he was a well-known orbiter type person within the Destiny community. He was a big figure. He would frequently engage in debate both on Destiny's stream and in the Discord VCs. Poppy was one of those who would also engage in debate in the Discord. Vaush and Poppy would strike up a somewhat friendly dynamic while still engaging with each other in debate. They began speaking in private DMs on September 13th of 2017, where Vaush and Poppy would have conversations about each other's methods of debate, at first being a bit heated, but cooling down and becoming friendly. But very quickly into Vaush's first private private conversation with Poppy, Vaush would attempt to steer the conversation into something more sexual. The first message they sent to each other was at 11:06 on September 13th of 2017. An entire hour later, Vaush would already manage to bring up his penis, something that you will see he would consistently attempt to shoehorn into all of his conversations with Poppy. Vaush would turn this conversation in particular about dick size. Poppy would engage in these conversations in the least sexual way possible, because obviously you can talk about sex stuff in a non-sexual way. We've all done it before with platonic friends, for example. Vaush, however, is a different story, quickly attempting to directly send Poppy pictures of his wiener. Yeah, well, dudes lie. I thought sex just sucked for a long time, until I met my current boyfriend. No wonder you're such a prude. I'm not, though. So, now that we've brought the sexual tension up to a simmering level in here, I know what you're thinking. What? I was actually thinking about how Trump just made another deal with Pelosi. Holy shit. I know you want to see it, but you're a spiteful fuck. And I know you'd share my dick pics around, even though it's in the exact upper spectrum of your preferred dick size range. Dude, what the fuck? No, do not send me your dick. Poppy makes it very clear that she doesn't want to have sexual conversations with Vaush. She has no problems talking about sex like we already established, but engaging in a conversation of a sexual nature as well as seeing his penis is off the table. Poppy would make this very clear the first day they spoke in private DMs, the 13th of September. And I just want to make it clear real quick, Poppy is not a minor. She is 18, so initially there's no problem here. If Vaush had misread some signals, shot his shot and missed, that's totally fine. He even says himself, I guess I interpreted signals. My bad. Up to this point, there's no issue. However, it becomes an issue because Vaush would not let up. Even a day later, on the 14th, he would once again attempt to make a sexual conversation out of thin air. Hell yeah. If I had known about all this, I would have trusted you with my nudes. You clearly take the issue seriously. Ah, did the convo end? I take my phone into the shower. Yeah, my dog is super hungry, so I had to go feed him. I do find your general antagonistic attitude endearing, but I should not flirt with you. Am I reading that right? Yes, you could trust me with your nudes, but I don't want to see them. But yeah, I would never leak someone's nudes. And no, not really. Please don't flirt with me. Notice how Poppy will blatantly ignore the sexual advances and try to make the conversation platonic? And Vaush already acknowledged he misread signs. Why is he trying again only a day later? I'm gonna be skipping over some of the other weird hypersexual messages for the sake of brevity, because on the 17th of September, Poppy brings up her insecurities with herself, stating she feels like people don't like her and how it's upsetting. After Vaush gives her what is lukewarm advice at best, he says this: well, I hope we can continue to be friends, and please tell me if I'm ever not being so good. Ah, so I am a buddy. Don't worry, I will. But seriously, being abrasive doesn't make you a bad person. Also, let me know if you ever want to check out my dong. Yes, we are buddies, but no, I don't want it. He does this all the time. I swear to God, look at the logs yourself. And he's trying to make it seem like a joke, but it's not. And Poppy clearly confirms once again, no, dude, I don't want to see your fucking wiener. My abrasiveness makes you more adamant about the dong thing. What do you mean? I mean, you do bring it up because I am cold and unresponsive about it. Are you trying to find out the secret to keeping me from bringing it up? Lol, yes. Okay, I'll stop bringing it up. Sorry, I mean, it doesn't bother me. No, I don't want to harass you. Please, don't apologize. Vaush also clearly acknowledges, once again, hey, I understand you don't want to have these conversations, which wouldn't be a bad thing if he had just stopped the first time. Now, this next part is just my interpretation of the logs. You have to keep in mind that there are VC conversations in Destiny's Discord that we don't have access to, and I have to fill in the blanks. So take all of this with a grain of salt. Having said that, it seems like eventually Vaush was getting fed up with Poppy and was beginning to resent her because she wasn't reciprocating his advances. Their conversation started as like a discussion of how they engage in debates. Poppy wasn't happy with the way Vaush would talk to her during conversations in the DGG Discord, but ultimately they had a pleasant discussion about the debate and brushed it off. However, later on, we start to see that Vaush is becoming less sympathetic to Poppy. And from what I can tell, it seems like he was going a lot harder on her in debates in the DGG Discord. And this is ultimately what would dissolve their friendly dynamic. There's a lot here, and you're more than welcome to look into the logs yourself. But to give you a quick summary, Vaush and Poppy met in the DGG Discord and would debate each other. Vaush on multiple occasions would try to advance their conversations into sexual territory and would not only be told to stop, but would also pretend to comply to continue later. And after some time, Vaush became frustrated with her, started being more hard on her, and they eventually had a falling out. Poppy would eventually confide in other members of the Discord, and Destiny would become aware of this, which led to a conversation between him and Vaush, ultimately resulting in Destiny temporarily kicking Vaush out of the server. Once again, if you feel like my interpretations of these events is bad faith, that's totally fine. Go look through them yourself and come to your own conclusion. But at least consider how Vaush would handle this. Vaush would post an addressal of the logs in 2019 at the peak of all of this coming to light. He described his behavior as poor and said that his interpretation of whether or not he harassed Poppy didn't ultimately matter. He disavowed the behavior and said he intends to improve as a person, which is strange because around this time he would claim that Poppy didn't deserve an apology and seemed to revel in the idea of rhetorically destroying her and making her cry on stream.
Poppy is not worth apologizing to. She is barely worth the fucking intrinsic human rights to which all human beings are endowed, okay? She is a disgusting human being. And that doesn't mean what I did wasn't wrong. It does mean I will never apologize to her. But I would love to have her on stream sometime because she is a nervous, anxious, neurotic liar. And it would be really, really easy to reduce her to a sobbing mess publicly. Would this make me look better in the public eye? No, it would make me look worse. But it would be very satisfying.
In my opinion, his apology was a crock of shit. Vaush seems to be completely incapable of accepting when a woman doesn't reciprocate his advances, to the point where it makes him angry and makes him fantasize about humiliating her and berating her into an emotional breakdown, which also makes sense when you consider the fact that it seems like Vaush started going a lot harder on her and insulting her more often towards the end of their, friendship or whatever. This is such a huge aspect that I feel like has just been overall brushed over, so it was super important for me to talk about that. Moving on, Vaush also in general has a serious problem with just oversharing in his weird degenerate sexual fantasies, which has definitely been popping up a lot ever since Vaush's folder was leaked. As I've said multiple times at this point, the horse thing was no secret to anyone in the online political commentary sphere. There are screenshots that go as far back as 2017 that show how much Vaush has been interested in horses. He would even lean into the joke and there would be like tweets about it and stuff. I'd see him all the time. But the thing is, it was so surreal to see the folder regardless. Like, it was just this thing that I knew about, but to see it on his computer just opened my eyes and I really thought about it for the first time. Vaush would explain on his stream that he likes the idea of being a horse and that he himself doesn't actually want to do anything with one, which is objectively better, but it's still fucked. Like, rubbing human shit all over your body is objectively better than eating human shit, but it's like, what, do you want a fucking gold star? It's still bad. I don't know why Vaush is comfortable talking about this stuff publicly, and I refuse to blame it on his autism, because autism doesn't make you harass and push the boundaries of women in DMs, nor does it exempt you from talking about horse wiener in public Discord servers. But on top of all that, there have been a lot of clips surfacing of Vaush talking about CP. And I'm not talking about Club Penguin. I'm talking about something that's really, really bad. Vaush seems to take the stance that those who produce and create CP should be in jail, yet those who possess and consume it should not. He also explains that people are morally inconsistent, as they will be outraged over CP existing, but have no issue with consuming goods that are produced through child slave labor, like chocolate or cobalt, which is almost a decent point, but Vaush fails to recognize three crucial things. Number one, there is ambiguity with eating a piece of chocolate or using something with cobalt, where it's not directly established that children were used to harvest it. It's very possible the particular chocolate you are eating is ethically sourced. There is no direct engagement with that possibility the same way there is with CP, so you just don't think about it as much, obviously. Number two, things such as cobalt or chocolate have non-harmful purposes and reasons to exist. CP has no reason or necessity to exist, and it is inherently harmful. Number three, these things can be ethically sourced without children, and there is no context where that doesn't apply to CP. Even if you were to AI generate CP, it would still enable behavior that is objectively wrong, harmful, and should not be indulged in. I genuinely don't think he's trying to say having CP is good. I think he's trying to do some like five-head Redditor intellectual take about how like, well, you hate society, but you are society. I do think it is weird how often he's brought it up, like that's questionable for sure, but I don't think he's actually advocating for the possession of that material. I just don't, but that doesn't really matter one way or the other. The simple fact is there's a paper trail of what, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, is sexual harassment. There is a clear paper trail of a long and very clear interest in horse anatomy, and there are multiple clips of Vaush steel-manning arguments for possession of CP, with or without context. This is all a bad look, especially considering how this all began through him leaking folders of young-looking girls and horses. All of this has come to light, and whether you believe that this information is miscontextualized or Vaush is being unfairly scrutinized, there is no denying that the public perception of Vaush at the moment is extremely poor. And Vaush is not doing himself any favors. After initially pleading to be allowed on the H3 podcast, he would rescind his offer, claiming that H3 was a bad faith actor. H3 openly offered him the opportunity to come on his podcast, podcast. He even agreed to come on Vaush's stream. However, Vaush would refuse both of these opportunities despite asking for them, claiming there was no point in engaging with clout-hungry people operating in bad faith. Vaush thinks that H3 was disingenuously attacking him, believing that his criticism was simply sensationalized for the sake of drama farming. That being said, Vaush would make some statements on his personal platform. Vaush was very open and owned up to the horse stuff, which once again, we knew, and it's not surprising. And while I appreciate the transparency, for most people, that isn't a satisfying response. Whether you wish you were the horse, or you want to be inside the horse, or whatever, most people don't think that will exonerate you, and it doesn't. He would also reply to the claims that what was in his folder was lolly, and I personally feel like his explanations for the two photos in particular are pretty solid. He said one of them didn't look like a lolly, and I can see where he's coming from, I suppose. For the second one, he had interpreted the girls as being thick, short stack characters, comparing them to the way that goblins are drawn in porn. And I know that's a ridiculous statement, but once again, I can understand where he's coming from. But I'm not so quick to just accept it and think that he's completely exonerated, because realistically, we're talking about like 20-ish thumbnails that are visible on the screen, and 2 of them are yikesy to say the least. But there's so much more here that we don't see. There's 3 separate folders, and probably more images when you scroll down. I have a really hard time believing those are the only 2 images that cross the line, and I'd have to reasonably believe that there is much more stuff in there that could be worse. And honestly, if there is, that would make a whole lot of sense why he's so adamant about steel manning for CP. It feels shitty to speculate. Like, I obviously only want to engage with what is known and what I can work with, but I also don't like the idea of just accepting his defense because he has plausible deniability for the images that we happen to see. And it's not like we're gonna find out what was in those folders either. Just using common sense, I have to assume that there's way more questionable shit of young-looking girls on his computer. And once again, that's really fucking bad. That's unacceptable. But once again, regardless, this is a charitable, terminally online take to have. Most people who aren't terminally online are going to see what looks like young girls, gonna see his takes on CP, and with or without context, are going to think he's a predator. Forever. So it's like, I almost understand where he's coming from when he doesn't want to engage with it. You realistically won't be able to exonerate yourself from such a bad look. But my problem is, he does talk about it. He does defend himself, but only in off-the-cuff responses on his stream and not like with H3 or in like a broken down, like serious structured format. If the truth is on his side, if he acted morally and he is willing to defend himself, why throw away opportunities to speak with H3 directly and at least set the record straight? I understand engaging with what you call bad faith critiques is pointless, but it's different when your reputation is on the line. Dream and Quite engaged with bad faith critiques. They didn't want to. They shouldn't have to, but they did. And it worked. People are going to have judgments about you, Vaush, but you need to understand that sloppily defending yourself off the cuff and refusing any like structured engagement of the facts just makes you look worse. There's a lot of other details in this drama, like Keffels and Tipster. I plan on doing a follow-up video talking about all that and going more in depth with that stuff. In fact, I'm going to be doing a research stream on the 15th, which, depending on when this video comes out, is either today or tomorrow, and that'll be at 3:30. I really just wanted to cover those poppy logs for this video because I haven't seen anyone do it at the time of recording, as well as just give a base level rundown of everything. Like I said, a part 2 is probably going to be coming, and I'm going to be streaming on the 15th. I probably skimmed over some details for the sake of brevity, so if you have any questions or feelings, leave them down in the comment section below, or ask me on my stream. And make sure you smash that like button and subscribe for epic sex. And I'll catch you in the next one, guys. See ya.